Attention. Book of Equanimity, case 90. Kyozan respectfully declares it. Attention. Kyozan had a dream in which he went to Maitreya's place and sat in the second seat. The Venerable One said, "Today it is time for the one in the second seat to speak." At that, Kyozan stood up, struck the sounding post, and said, "The Dharma of the Mahayana is beyond all words. I respectfully declare it." So we're a good way into our Zazen Kage practice. I was doing the math last night and I realized that we start so early and our morning block is over 5 hours and then our afternoon block is short. So we're, I think we're 5+ hours in and we only have a little over 2 hours left actually in our day here. So make the most of these final 2 hours. So I'll offer some words in my Dharma talk and hope they're helpful to you. Take them as they resonate with you and leave aside what doesn't. The most important thing is always to return to your life, your practice, what's most present and what's most alive for you, and to be with it. And we spend so much of our lives in a kind of a fantasy. You know, it can be, oftentimes is an active fantasizing. There's some images of how we want things to be, or how we wish they were. The thing that I wanted to say and should have said during that conversation, or, you know, the way I want things to be and what I'm going to say and do. Has anyone prepared their Oscar speech, their Nobel Prize speech? I haven't done that for a long time, but I used to when I was really young. Fantasies. And then our denials are a kind of fantasy too. You know, we resist our own mortality. Anybody fantasize about their own death? Yeah. Is it a pleasant fantasy? No. Yeah. So maybe it's not a fantasy. Maybe that's a real visualization. Yeah. So what I want to bring out here is the difference between fantasy and dream and vision. A fantasy is it's the idea, it's driven by desire, and it's driven by denial. So one of our fantasies is that we're not going to die. Zen is the practice of living in reality and be present with your life as it is, not how we wish it to be, or in the midst of denial and resistance of what is. Living your life as it is, as you are. Been talking about the bardo, which is the time in between incarnations, but it's also the fundamental quality of our life, and that nothing is ever fixed. So we're always in this in between. And we can deepen and learn and awaken so much as we appreciate quality of the bardo, which is the quality of our life, quality of this life. And this bardo has the quality of dream. In the bardo, we can't say alive or dead. In the bardo, we can't say dream and wake. In the bardo, we can't say crazy, insane. One of our Samu jobs that 4 brave souls participated in today was taking the human essence from several of the bodies of people who had undergone a funeral here at this center, and it was a water funerals, and what's left behind is a liquid essence. And all the people who transitioned requested that their essence be used to fertilize the orchard here at the farm, the trees out front. So our 4 brave souls participated in bringing the essence out and watering it down and then pouring it into the ground. Extremely intense work, pungent smell. It's a matter within the liquid. I wanted to check in with those souls who participated because it was such an intense experience, and every one of them said it was exactly what they needed. They were very grateful for the experience. And each person that I've spoken to, I haven't spoken to all 4, but each person was grateful for the experience. Well, it takes courage to face the truth that we are mortal and we will die. But death is not what we think it is. And life is not what we think it is. And that's the point and the location of our practice in each moment, is to be with what it truly is. What is happening? What is happening right now? That's who I am. That's who you are. So this is actualized when the mind settles down, the discursive mind settles down. We have to really get in contact with the stillness and the silence. I've been offering these words during each of our sittings to be meet the moment directly. I said at the beginning of the day, enter the silence. Make that choice to not engage with the discursive mind, with the fantasy. Make the choice not to engage, and then to turn into the silence, enter the silence, enter the stillness with your body, with your heart, with your mind. And when you do that, then the silence enters you, and the stillness enters you. And becomes you. And you become it. So where does Eric go? Where does Brian go? Where does Charles go? Where does Gakyu go? Nowhere. That's not who you're defined by. So in the silence and the stillness, we become more empowered to not resist and avoid. Okay, because the discursive mind is operating in its way of helping us to resist and avoid the tough stuff, the vulnerable places, the pain. Yeah, the mind gets enlisted in a kind of a project of avoidance. So even the analyzing mind is enlisted. Analyzing mind is great for avoiding feeling. Very sophisticated bypass mechanism. But it can be dealt with a single medicine. Don't engage. And then in that space, you know, the feelings can arise, the deeper feelings. Completely unself-conscious, this guy. Don't we all wish we're that self-conscious, unself-conscious? Yeah, allow the strong feelings to come up, allow the deep stuff to come up, and allow the memories to come up too. Yeah, when memories come up in the fertile ground of practice of samadhi, it's different from like remembering something that comes in is through like the movie plays in your head again, and you kind of see the movie playing, but you're not necessarily feeling or deeply somatically, emotionally connected. That can be more of a fantasy, you know, where you're remembering something like that and taking you away. But when memories come up in samadhi, it's not pulling you away actually from where you are. You're still in the room. You're still deep within yourself. You're still present. So the past just becomes alive, right? In the present moment. This is the quality of dream. This is the dream quality of the Varda. Past or present, it's not an or, it's not exclusive. It's an and. So your past becomes very much present with where you are now, and who knows, maybe this time was equally present in the past. Just like your future is present to you right now in some way. The mind that sees time as linear does not see the full picture. We know that. We know scientifically that at some level it's all here now. Now that doesn't always, or maybe never, completely convincingly open in your consciousness. But it can, and it does. So humility is best. and a willingness to take the dream seriously and to also take it fearlessly. Not to be convinced that you know what's going on, who you are, who another person is, what needs to happen, the agenda, the script, the understanding. Really lean into the fuzzy edges of things, the gray areas, the both ands. I think visualizing your own death is a great way to do this. It's a great practice. Yeah. And practicing in the charnel grounds is a classic and deep Zen practice, Buddhist practice. That's what our four brave souls engaged in. None of them knew that was going to happen when they woke up this morning. I didn't either. It's become an opportunity for deep, deep, deep practice. Visualize your own death, your passing. Yeah, what's on the other side of that? Don't know. No one can tell you. But you can go into yourself right now and examine what the quality of your own life is. Because it's not separate from death. The life and death is together right here, inextricably unified. We really should say one thing, just one thing, life, death. That's probably a better way to say it. It's not life as opposed to death, it's life, death. We're all in the midst of life, death. Where do we go? Don't know. Where do our thoughts go? I said earlier this morning, it's one of my prompts, let them go. Just let them pass, right? Where do they go? We have a koan on this one. Sozan arrived at Isan's and asked, I've heard that you say to be with or without words is like a vine dependent on a tree. When suddenly the tree falls, the vine withers. Where do the words return to? So it's a really nice metaphor, right? To be with or without words is like a vine dependent on a tree. So it's like they maybe said the tree is kind of an egoic consciousness and the vines are holding on to that egoic consciousness. So then when you let go of the egoic consciousness, the tree falls, the vine, what do you say? Yeah, when suddenly the tree falls and the vine withers, okay, then where do the words return to? So you can kind of see where he's coming from, the question, right? How did Isan respond? Who knows? Who knows what happens after we die? If you think you know, you don't know. I'm comfortable saying that. If you think you know, you don't. But it's not, and I'm comfortable saying this too, it's not just the end of life, the negation of this life. It doesn't make any sense. But that's how we think of it. That's all we can do with the conceptual mind. Oh, well, it's not this. Yeah. So likewise, our life is not what we think it is, if we think of it that way. So this koan that I started with, Kyozan has a dream. And talks about the dream. This koan directly precedes the koan I talked about on Monday night in my Dharma talk, and that was Nansen. When he was asked a question, he said, people nowadays see this flower as if in a dream. So in that koan, he's comparing reality to the dream. And in here, he's having a dream, and he's talking about the real dimension of what's happening in the dream. So they're kind of complementary koans. Because something very meaningful happens in this dream. He goes to Maitreya's place. It's like his pad. Goes to Maitreya's pad. And he sits in the second seat. Maitreya's in the first seat. So he's got seat of honor here, second seat. And then Maitreya says, today is the time for the one in the second seat to talk. Has anyone ever had a dream like this? Pressure. Go to a lecture or something. It's like, no, we're going to hear a talk from. But Kyozan was pretty deep in his practice, because in his dream, it's the sounding post, and he says, the Dharma of the Mahayana is beyond all words. I respectfully declare it. You're declaring something that's beyond words. You're using words to declare something that's beyond words. That's awesome. I wish the Academy would give tenure to someone who like walked up and said, my lecture is completed, and then walked off. No, you got to say stuff, test people. Sorry, Miyoshi. And Aparna, yeah. Yeah. And he's telling you in words that it's beyond all words. Yeah, but that's the dream. You know, we're awake and dreaming at the same time. Master Ryuge said, when you're deluded, you're like a monarch in the dream. When you're enlightened, you're like a peasant awakening from the dream. So if you have control over your dreams, you know, you might make yourself the king or the queen in the dream, right? But that's delusion, you know, according to Ryuge. That's a fantasy. That's a fantasy. But when you wake up to the fact that you really have nothing and you need nothing, peasant doesn't have anything to hold on to, have anything they have to hold on to. I'm told that people who are very wealthy are just obsessed with taking care of their money. And I think it's true. Or having more money than the person who has more money than them, you know, get that second helicopter because their neighbor has two. I know this to be true. I've been told this by those who like swim with that level of wealth. how horrible, what a nightmare kind of existence it really is. But that's the fantasy. We have the fantasy that we want that much money. And then when we're there, it's just a hungry ghost existence. It's not enough. Can you imagine that? Not being enough? Of course, we tell ourselves, oh yeah, that'll be enough. Yeah, I wouldn't be like that if I had $1 million. I do tell myself that, actually. Would I be that way? I don't know. I'm glad that I don't have to deal with it. Actually, I really am. I've had contact with a couple of teachers in my lineage who like had close contact with rock stars. And one story was, it was actually my teacher, Shishin Roshi, who had Dokusan with David Crosby. And Crosby's still in Nash. This goes way back. I think it was in the 70s. He was probably at the height of his fame. And Crosby came and did Dokusan with him. And he did, he said to Shishin, he said, my God, you've really done something with your life, unlike me. He was very humble. He's like, God, just, I don't know the exact words he used, but that was the essence. It's like, this is the real deal here, and I've been frivolous about my existence. And then the other one was, this really stuck with me, was a teacher in my lineage who was a musician in a rock band earlier in his life. And he was on tour with big groups. And I believe in this context, he was either playing with Pink Floyd or he was opening for Pink Floyd, something like that. And he said, like, the in the back, in the green room or the backstage, there'd be like, after the show, there'd be women like trying to get in the windows, to like sleep with them. Total fantasy for like a young man who like wants that, to be a rock star, right? And he said it was hell, it was just a hellish nightmare, hungry ghost existence for the band members as much as for anyone who's just craving like that, throwing themselves at other people like that. I mean, tell that to my 18-year-old self, I wouldn't believe you. Yeah, I'd be like, yeah, right. But that's just a fantasy. It's just a fantasy. No. The dream is much better. It's real. There's infinite potential in your life. There's infinite, vast availability. Because you are it. You are all of this. There's nothing lacking. Nothing lacking in your life. Your true self includes everything. So we have to be diligent in the way that we attach to things, the things that we want, the things that we crave. Everything we want, everything we crave comes from a sense that we don't have it, that we're separate from it. But truly, it is all present right here now. And we drop into the depth of this being, this beingness in our zazen. So take good care of this quality of being. Practice being. Keep returning to yourself. Keep returning to the flow of sensory experience. Enter the flow. Become the flow. Keep going. Keep returning. Bravely. without resistance, with intensity. And those resistances drop away and the filters drop away. The fantasies quiet down. And then you become open. And the radiance shines of its own accord. The energy, the illumination is present. Continues to shine. Keep practicing together the next few hours. Hope everybody enjoys your practice for the rest of the day.